See if Facebook corroborates. Let me see. So typically when I do this, a lot of times Facebook won't cooperate and it'll give me an error, but it looks like we got us all go today. All right, showtime. Hey, Anthony. Oops, press something wrong. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm tired. I'm tired. Yeah, tired. Busy finishing financial literacy month. So, you know, calming down.
Nice.
Yeah, time freeing up, you know.
Mm-hmm. And I
Hmm.
mean, we matching. You cute. So
I know. So I
here
went
we are.
into the office today. I had to go into the office today. That's why.
Well, you cute.
So I've got on real clothes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I think I am too. But but yeah, so essentially one of the things that I've noticed or just witnessed period is a lot of times people have these plans and they have them with their employer, and one, they don't know how to manage them. Two, when they separate from that company, they don't know enough about the vesting schedule to strategically leave. Or they don't know what to do with it when they've gone on to a new employer, or just maybe they started their own business. Maybe they went to work at home with their family, but they don't know how to manage that plan. So I wanted to basically come and talk about those situations, because a lot of people, they put the money in their plan and they think, oh, I'm invested. I put money in my 401k. And it's like, yeah, you put it in there, but there's another step. So just kind of talking about some of those things, and of course taking questions for whoever has questions. We do have a few people who really wanted this session, but she said she's traveling at the time of it, so she'll be catching the replay. So just make sure you hit replay, type replay in the chat when you're watching it again. But we can go ahead and get started. I would love for you to tell them like who you are, what you do, and all that first before we get
Yeah.
into
So Sure. So thank you so much for having me. My name is Tiffany Grant. I run Money Talk with Tiff, which is a financial education platform. I love talking about money. It's a blog, it's a podcast, a social media presence, all of those good things. But for the purposes of this, I'm actually putting on my HR hat, which was my corporate career. Got my little SHRM CP thing over there. I keep that up. But yeah, I love benefits. I love talking to employees about benefits because they are highly underutilized and sometimes even unutilized. So I think this is an important conversation.
it. Is. It is. I think it's a very important conversation because we have a lot of business owners, but we have a lot of people who still work for employers. And having an employer match is a fabulous thing when you use it correctly. And I think that a lot of people could do so much better if they just knew how the plans worked and what they look like. And it's not as complicated either. I feel like a lot of people, they don't do it because they feel like it's intimidating, or they won't be able to handle it. And I just wanted to kind of talk about a lot of those things to let them know
Yeah.
like it's easy.
Yeah, so let's start there. Let's start with our 401ks, our 403bs, and things like that. So there's different flavors. Every organization is going to be different. So I'm going to try to generalize this as much as possible. But first of all, there's active enrollment and passive enrollment. And some companies, they automatically put you in the plan once you're eligible. And then they're like, okay, once you're eligible, it'll be 1-2% of your paycheck, whatever it is. And then you have to opt out. That is called active enrollment. And then passive is when you have to actually let them know that you want to enroll. So a lot of companies were doing where you have to elect, but now they're going into automatic enrollments. And the reason is because a lot of people don't participate in 401k plans, which, as you said, if you have a match, why not? That's free money on the table. And I can tell you right now, you're not going to get 100% return on your money in any market. And so you might as well take that money up front. Now, another thing to pay attention to, though, is that as Nia stated at the onset, there's vesting schedules with some companies. Now, not all companies have vesting. Some companies have safe harbor plans, which means that whatever you put in, the company puts in, it's yours from the get-go. Like there's no vesting. Vesting is when sometimes they say, well, you have to stay for X amount of time. You get 25% of whatever we put in. You stay another, let's just put numbers so it won't be confusing. You stay 3 years, you get 25% of what we put in. If you stay 5, you get 50%. If you stay 7, you get 100% of what we put in. Now, remember, when you're thinking about vesting, it's not what you put in. Whatever you put in is yours. This is whatever the company puts in is what's on your vesting schedule. So keep that in mind too, because I think that confuses people sometimes. They're like, well, the company's going to take my money. Well, not really. It's your money. What you put in is your money.
But
It's
you
what
want their money to be your money too.
Exactly. And what used to really get me sometimes is when I was working for companies with vesting schedules, people would be so close to being vested for whatever that level was, and they would quit. And I'm like, you sure you don't want to stick around just a little bit longer? Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. When you gotta go, you gotta go. I understand. But keep that in mind as you're planning out things, because what you see in your account may not be what you leave with, if that's the case. So just keep that in mind. Also, I want to add that matching is different everywhere. So I've seen where companies will do 100% up to 6%, or maybe they'll split it up and do 100% up to 3%. And then from 3 to 6% is 50%, so on and so forth. So definitely check your employee handbook. And that's one thing that I tell people all the time. All this information is in your employee handbook. Most people don't read it, so of course they don't get the information, but everything benefits related, company policy related, all of that is in your employee handbook. And so check that first before you go to HR, because I'll be honest with y'all, we got a lot going on. There's a lot of fires we putting out on a daily basis. And so check that first. And then if you still have questions, get with your HR department and they'll be more than happy to point you in the right direction or explain it to you. So I know I covered a lot, but
So I was gonna say, so you just said a mouthful. But I feel like it's important for you to know, and these are the things that you should be considering when you. So a lot of people, they get a job and they're like, oh, they have benefits, and they're like, oh, okay, they got benefits. Okay, I'm looking for a job with benefits. But I feel like for a lot of people, that's as far as it goes. They don't look deep into it to see like what the employee match is or what percentage, because like you said, you're not going to get 100% return on your money anywhere in any market. Somebody who tells you that they are, they're most likely lying. So that's right there is a plus, because you're already working there anyway, and that's considered part of your compensation package. So
yes.
when you're saying how much you get paid, they're considering that as a part of how much they pay you. So get your money. Get your money.
So, okay. So I'm glad you brought that up. Before we get there, though, real quick, because one thing that when I was in HR, you have the 401k people come in, they do their little spiel every year, or twice a year, whatever. And then most people leave out of that out of that meeting. They're like, I still have no idea what's going on, or I don't have enough money to do this, so I'm not going to do it. But let me tell you, when you are taking advantage of a 401k, if it's a traditional 401k, so I'm not talking about Roth right now, if it's traditional, right? Then it's not really dollar for dollar that you're going to be missing on your paycheck, because it also lowers your tax liability. And so you might be like, oh, well, I can't really afford $20 at my paycheck right now. But mind you, it's not going to be truly $20, because at the end of the day, you're lowering your tax bill. And so you're going to see more of that money, believe it or not. So I always tell people, once you're eligible, just go ahead and sign up. You can figure it out later. My grandpa always told me, always pay yourself first. So in this case, you're paying your future self, because nobody wants to work forever. So you're paying your future self, and once you take it off the top, it don't even hit your account. You won't even notice it's gone. So I tell people, just go ahead and get it over with from the beginning. Okay, so going back to part of compensation. When you are being hired by an employer, they do something called total rewards. So that's what we call it in the HR world. Total rewards is your whole compensation package. And so it includes your salary, it includes your paid time off, it includes your 401k, your health insurance, all of these different things. And that's how we come up with how much we'll pay you in compensation. And, that's kind of how we figure things out, right? So, to Nia's point, you want to make sure you're taking advantage of all of those different things that's included because that's part of your compensation. So, it used to kill me when people didn't take their PTO, for instance, and it just expires. I'm like, y'all, look, Nia's like, I like to travel.
That's
I
a
have
problem I
none
have
left by the end
never
of the year.
had. Never had that
Right.
problem.
But you will be surprised how many people do not take their time off. And I tell people, like, and even if they do, they'll wait until the last minute. And y'all, I'm going to
Use
be
and
honest
lose.
with you. I'll be honest with you, that is not the right strategy to use because your manager can deny it because if they don't have anybody working, then because everybody's trying to use it at the last minute. And so I always tell people to spread it out throughout the year, but go ahead and take your time off because it's yours and you need to. And also just if one day, like let's say for instance, you're not a person that likes to travel or, do whatever, just take a day for yourself.
Do
Chill at the
nothing.
house, right?
Do
Chill at the
nothing.
house. And I'll also say when you take your time off, you are not obligated to answer anything from your job either.
Nothing. Your job doesn't
Nothing.
exist
It does
like
not.
that. Mm-mm. So saying I'm actually taking this Thursday, Friday off, like just because, like exactly,
As you
like
should.
yeah, because I'm tired. I need a break. Um, I've been running like crazy, and I have an event coming up in June, so it's like I need a break in between so that I can get ready. So I literally strategically looked at the calendar, was like, okay, I'm gonna take those 2 days off back. And it goes into the weekend. So that's gonna be like an extended couple days. Like exactly.
hmm And that's a good point too, because you don't have to justify to your employer why you're taking the days off either. Just
I don't even
say,
tell them why.
exactly, just say, I'm taking my time. Period. You don't have to you don't have to say anything else if you don't want to. Now, if you like to share, then that's fine with you, but you don't have to. I just want to
Yeah,
put
I
that
tell
out there
them.
as well.
Even when
Mhm.
I'm traveling, I don't say where I'm going. I just request the time off and keep it going because I don't know if I'm a think ahead type person or a don't open Pandora's box type person because who knows what might happen down the line. And if I usually always tell you what I'm doing and then I have one time I don't, then that's
Mhm.
gonna be suspicious because you always say where you're going. So why you can't say now? So I just don't ever say it. I just request a time off and keep going.
Gotcha. And while we're on PTO, I know we're jumping around, y'all, but just stick with us. So while we're talking about PTO, right? One thing that's becoming a little popular is unlimited time off. So unlimited PTO.
Mhm.
Um, honestly, y'all, and this is coming from an HR insider, that's for the benefit of the company because what happens is less people take PTO. I was part of a company that rolled that out as a new
They don't
benefit
know
for
me.
our employees. Right. As a new benefit for our employees. And most people, I won't say all, most people, because I know there's other Nias out there, but most people take less PTO when it's unlimited because psychologically they're thinking, oh, well, if I take too
It's an
much,
abundance.
are people going to be looking at me crazy? That type of thing. And so what I noticed was people take less time when there's no bank. So
Hmm.
just
Interesting.
FYI.
That's interesting. That's good intel, though. That's good intel. So, what do you think, as someone who worked in HR, is the biggest thing that people like skip or forget to do when it comes to managing their retirement plan that they probably miss out on that HR can actually help them?
The number one thing that people do not take advantage of is the EAP, so the Employee Assistance
Mhm.
Program. So most employers have it. It is free of charge for you. And it's usually, they have free counseling sessions, just a bunch of different resources that can help you with whatever you're going through in life. So, for instance, when I was an HR person, if somebody came to me and let's say they lost their spouse or, whatever the case may be, I'm like, make sure you call our EAP number, because they can help you navigate that life change. And so that's one thing that I know people did not take advantage of, was that. So check with your HR department, see if you have that. 9 times out of 10 you do, and make sure you're taking advantage of that, because like, for instance, usually it's like 5 counseling sessions or 3 counseling sessions, whatever the package is, but it's free. And so it's what you don't have to spend money on that. Like, if you have mental health benefits, these are free sessions that you could take advantage of before you have to start paying out of pocket.
Mm.
So that's one. The second thing that's underutilized, we've already talked about the 401k. That's absolutely underutilized in most situations, and especially by young people, people that are in their 20s, or, fresh out of high school, college, whatever. They're like, well, it's going to be a while before I even do this. So, before I retire. So I don't need to worry about it. I don't have the money right now. I'm trying to survive, whatever. But that is like the prime time to go ahead and get in. You can always change your elections whenever you want. So even if you sign up for, let's say 6% is the match, you sign up for 6%, you start getting your check, you like, ooh, like, I don't know if I can make this work. I know what you said, Tiffany, but I can't make this work. Then you can always back it down. You can always bring it up to more. So you can constantly change it. So I tell people to just put something, at least up to the match to start, and then you can always, adjust it if you need to.
Yes,
Another,
I
oh,
agree.
sorry.
Oh, that's okay. I think too, when you get a raise, or like, say you've been managing, you good, and maybe you did take that number down at one point, and now you got your system together, you're paying your bills on time, and everything's good. When you get a promotion, this is money you can't miss, what you've never had. So that money can go to increasing your 401k contribution. You know what I mean? That's one of the
Mhm.
things that I've done. Whenever I got a raise, my contributions got a raise, because
Yes,
it just helps, go better, do it better. I wasn't getting this money before. So
and instead of your lifestyle getting a raise and experiencing lifestyle creep, you might as well,
exactly.
like I said, pay yourself first, and put some of that money towards your future self. And then also one more thing that I want to mention, that usually, there's a few things, Lord. Okay. So one is HSA plans. So health savings
Ooh.
accounts.
Mhm.
You're eligible if you have a high deductible health plan, but a lot of people don't put into the HSA, and some companies even give you free money for your HSA. So definitely check into that, or match what you put in. So check into that at your company. But that goes very underutilized, and is such a powerhouse of something to have as a benefit. I miss a 401k match, and I miss an HSA. Like, those are the two benefits that I would love to have right now. So with the HSA, it's a triple tax benefit. The money goes in tax free. Therefore, it lowers your taxable income when it's time to do taxes. It grows tax free, and then you take it out tax free. And there's a bunch of different tips and tricks, you can use with that. But I just wanted to throw that out as well. HSAs are usually underutilized too. So those are the top 3 things I see go underutilized. Now, an honorable mention is the cafeteria plan. So what we consider cafeteria plans are the voluntary benefits. So those are the things like, hospital benefit, or disability benefit, whatever.
Long-term
Now,
care.
so that's what we call cafeteria plans. Now with those, and they call cafeteria because you pick and choose what you want, right? Now with those, I have seen people really maximize those by understanding what they have coming up. So let me give you an example. One lady, she knew she was going to have a major surgery, right? So when it came time for open enrollment, she's like, oh, I'm going to sign up for the hospital benefit. I'm going to sign up for this. I'm going to sign up for that. And then when it came time for her surgery, she had all of these benefits rolling in while she was, recovering and stuff. And I was like, see, she thought ahead. She understood what her situation was, actually went through the plans to see, okay, how can this help me in my situation? And then maximized it that way. So I highly recommend, I always tell people all the time, when open enrollment season comes around for your company, it's usually towards the end of the year, like the fall. make sure that you are evaluating not only how your year went, but what's coming up for you in the future. And then pick and choose your benefits around that. When she did that, I said, girl,
That's what I
yes.
did. So me and my daughter both needed to get braces. So
Mhm.
during open enrollment, I went for a consultation. Well, no, before open enrollment, I went for consultation so that we can see and we can get the price and they can give us the bill of how much it costs. I researched dental plans to see what their like oral surgery and orthodontic care
Mhm.
was, to see what they would give me. Found the one that had the best benefits, that wasn't going to make me wait 2 years. And then I signed up for the FSA to cover the portion that we were going to have to pay. That's exactly what I did, because I had to pay for braces for 2 people at the same time, single parent. So that's how I strategically did that. And then once the beginning of the year came, when we started it and we signed, they sent us the bill, I was able to pay the bill right off, and then it just deducted from my check the whole year.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm.
That's how I did. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. And I'm glad you mentioned FSA. So I just want to make sure that I make the clear
Oh,
distinction
differentiate.
between a
Mm-hmm.
HSA, which is a health savings account, and a FSA, which is a flexible spending account. FSAs, so both of them are for medical expenses. Okay, so that's what they share. FSAs usually, not usually, all the time, the funds expire at the end
The
of the
end of the
year.
year.
And so
Mm-hmm.
that's why you see people like, oh, I need to hurry up and use these benefits. And they buying all the cold medicine. They buy,
Or pregnancy
whatever.
test.
Oh Lord, I hope it's not a bunch of pregnancy tests. But they
I know
buying
somebody,
up,
that's what she used to do. She used to buy pregnancy tests.
they
Now
buying
she do
up.
have 4 kids now, so she wasn't taking. I guess she needed them.
So they buying up all these things, that they might need because at the end of the year, the money expires. With an HSA, it does not. So that's why I said, if you have access to an HSA, it's the bomb. Because it's portable, it follows you even if you leave your employer, and it lasts forever. So that's why I wanted to make that difference, because some people, they're like, well, don't you have to go ahead and spend it all? I'm like, nope, that's an
No, not for
FSA.
HSA.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to have a high deductible plan.
Yes, for the
I had to,
HSA.
you got to, in
Mm-hmm.
order to have an HSA, you got to have a high deductible medical plan. So that's why it's
Mm-hmm.
all about strategy and knowing what options are available to you. So I want to ask you, like, let's just say I work at a company that automatically enrolls me in my retirement plan. And I start the company, they tell me I'm automatically enrolled, they send me my paperwork. What am I supposed to do then? Like, because a lot of times what people will do when they automatically enroll them, they just say, oh, okay, I'm enrolled. All right, I'm investing in my 401k. You know,
So,
we Gucci. Like,
right.
so what should I be doing next? Like, once they sign me up?
Yes. So first and foremost, and this is with a 401k or an IRA, if you're doing it on your own, you want to make sure that even though the money is going into the account, is actually being invested in something. So just because you're putting money into an IRA or a 401k, it doesn't mean that it's actually invested in anything and making money for you. And so that's the first thing you want to check. Usually with employers, they'll have what we call target date funds or life cycle funds. And that's
Mhm.
usually what they'll put you in based on when you plan on retiring, or based on your age. And so for instance, if it's a life cycle plan or if it's a life cycle plan for 2050, it's saying, oh, in 2050 or around 2050 is when you're going to retire. So that's what that means. And that's usually what they will put you in. But make sure you double check and see if that's really the case. Now, so that's the first thing to check. The second thing to check is, I would say, the fees as well. So whatever fund or whatever they decide to put you in, see what their expense ratio is on that fund, because there might be something better in the portfolio that'll be better suited for you. Because mind you, the employer is not taking into consideration anything but probably your age, when they're picking what fund to put you in, if they put you in a fund. So you want to go through and just see, like, is this the best option for me, or is there something else better suited to my needs, that the employer offers? With 401ks, unfortunately, you're limited to whatever the employer decides that they want to make available for their employees. So it's not the entire market like an IRA would allow you to have. With a 401k, you're limited there, which can bring me to another point. If you are leaving a job, because people usually have questions about that too. If you're leaving a job and you had a 401k there, we already talked about vesting and, seeing if your match is going to stay. That's important. But another important thing is, depending on your situation, it may be better to roll it out of your jobs or your former jobs 401k into a IRA instead. Or sometimes it might be more beneficial to roll it into your new jobs 401k. It really just depends on the situation. And some things to think about if you're evaluating which one would be best for you. Here's some things to keep in mind. If you leave it in the 401k, you're no longer an employee. So the company is no longer paying part of the fees for you. So it could be more expensive to leave it where you are. Where you were. Another thing is, if you roll it to an IRA, then you don't have to worry about, every time you leave an employer, moving it around, whatever. So that's what I used to do. I just used to roll it into an IRA. Now, every time I left a job, which was very often, I stayed at places like 1-2 years max, and I was out. So I did a lot of rolling, but an exception to that is if you are a high income earner, if you ever wanted to do a backdoor Roth, you can only do a backdoor from a 401k. So if you're a high income earner and you want to get around the Roth income limitations, then it is better to leave your money in a 401k, whether it's with your former employer or a new employer. So you would just roll it from 401k to 401k instead of 401k to IRA. But that's an exception to, a generalized statement that I'm saying. And y'all, real quick, this is not investment advice. I am just doing this for educational entertainment purposes only. Right.
Absolutely. We just trying to educate you, let you know your options. Neither one of us are offering any advice to say what you should do. Everybody should look at their financial situation and make a decision on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm just giving you some things to think about, if you're in that situation. So you can either roll it to an IRA or you can roll it to a 401k, but those are some of the considerations you should have when you do that.
So this question is from about that wallet. He's asking, so I think he's referring to when you were talking about strategically using your HSA and things like that. And he's saying, do you recommend people reach out to HR first or go to their doctors first?
So, first and foremost, you need to know what benefits are available to you, in my opinion. So I would go to HR first. If you don't have access to the employee handbook or you read it and you don't quite understand it, then go to the HR department. It's part of their job to make sure that you have that information. Now, let's say, for instance, you have a surgery coming up, let's say. Once you get your benefit options, then you can go to the doctor and say, okay, what is this going to look like? And I've even gone to doctors. So is a little story. It's probably going to be TMI, but I'm going to go ahead and tell it anyway. So I was thinking about getting some, let's just say, elective surgery. And I went to the doctor and he was like, oh, I can get it approved if you had any of these health insurers. And so sometimes your doctor can tell you, like, okay, you might want to go with this plan instead of this plan because I can, kind of help you get this approved in some way. So I'm gonna put that out there too. So once you get your options, you can take those options to your doctor or their billing department or whatever to figure out what might be the best route if it's something that's coming up that you want to have. So that's another tip that I never said before.
That's a nugget though. That's a nugget. That's the nugget, because doctors know they deal with different insurance plans all the time. So they kind of have an inkling to say, like, yeah, they're not going to approve that.
Mm-hmm.
because they probably tried to fight for it for another patient before. So that's a very good tip. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
good
He
tip.
gave me a whole list. He was like, if you get any of these, I can get it approved for you.
That's all you got to do.
Mm-hmm. I
I mean,
said,
because he want to
preach.
help you. He wants to
Mm-hmm.
get paid. So they're motivated to help you because them helping you helps them.
Mm-hmm. He's help me
Mhm.
help you.
Okay. So, okay, getting back to the 401k plan. So I got my
Mhm,
401k plan. I've looked
mhm,
at my funds. I see where it's invested, and we've kind of talked about what to do when we are leaving. But I want to talk about, let's just say I did work at a company that didn't automatically roll me in, and now I'm 43 years old, and I haven't started saving for retirement at all.
mm.
What do I
Okay.
do? Like, I start to panic. I'm getting, kind of scared. What should I do? How can I try to recover, recoup, or whatever at that point?
Yeah, so first of all, there's no time like the present.
Mhm.
So even if you are 55 and you just now realizing like, oh, I haven't saved anything, go ahead and start today. Like you can always start whenever you want. Now, caveat there, you can't always enroll in a 401k plan throughout the year. So you have to see when that enrollment is, because with some plans, you can't just enroll or unenroll all willy nilly, you know? There's like certain times where you can enroll. So definitely check on that. But once you have that information, go ahead and enroll. And I mean, even if you did 1%, 2%, whatever it is, something is better than nothing. Now, you can't do catch up contributions until you're 55. So, catch up contributions, they increase the limit to how much you can put in a year, whether it's a Roth or a traditional 401k or IRA. But those aren't until 55. So, if you're 40 something, start today, start putting the money in, letting it grow. Mind you, when it comes to investing, time is of the essence. And so the earlier you start, the easier it'll be. Even if you start late, you still have some time to let that compound on itself. So I always tell people just start wherever you are. That's the main thing.
Okay, another question. So I'm trying to ask the different scenarios that I've either been asked about or has been expressed to me. People are really interested in knowing like what to do if they didn't start early and they started later, like how. So that's why I wanted to make sure I asked that question. And then now let's just say I've been saving for a while and saving in retirement, I'm getting near to retirement. Do you have any suggestions for like if I'm about to approach actually taking my money out, maybe I'm retiring within the next 5 years? Are there any steps that I should be taking that I can call HR to do, or what does that look like as far as leveraging HR to make the best outcome for me?
Whew. So that varies situation to situation for sure.
Mhm.
Definitely let your HR department know when you're nearing retirement, if you're ready to retire, just so they can help you kind of navigate that process. Because, we kind of think about, okay, this is what you need to do for your 401k. This is what you need to do for your health insurance. This is what you need to do, for your team, whatever the case may be, we can kind of help you. And then also it'll help your company will love you because it'll also help with succession planning too. And
Mhm.
so if you let them know early enough, let's say you're a year or so out, 2 years out, and you're like, I plan on retiring in a couple of years. Now they know, okay, we need to go ahead and get somebody in here or train somebody up to your position versus you just like, all right, y'all, I'm about to head out, retirement in a couple weeks, and we out. So it's just very helpful to let them know as soon as possible, whenever you know that you want to make that move, just so they can help you navigate that. Now, outside of HR, though, I would highly recommend getting with, and really, not even waiting that late, but getting with like a financial planner just so they can help you figure out okay, do you need to be putting more in your 401k? Like, where do you stand? Do you need to put more in your 401k? Do you need to do a Roth option? Do you need to do just a brokerage account? Because also, what you need to consider is once you retire, your investments is going to be your income. And you want to have different buckets to pull from so that way you can have the best tax outcomes. So, what I try to do and what I tell people to do if they can is to have all three buckets. You want tax free, tax deferred, and you want taxable. And the reason is because once you retire, you have three different ways you can pull money out based on your tax for that year, and be a little more strategic. But really, to get into the nuts and bolts of that, I highly recommend getting with a financial planner, not your HR department. They're not going to know. Matter of fact, a lot of times when it comes to financial stuff, your HR department, like I was just a diamond in the rough because I loved finance and I loved HR too, but most HR people are not like that. So when you start getting into, oh, so should I do taxable, tax deferred? They're going to be like, here's our benefits. You figure that out. Good luck.
Something that I see happen sometimes because I work for the government is people think they're ready to retire and they call HR and they're like, no, you're not. You need to work this many more months or something until you're eligible. So I just think it's a great idea to talk to HR when you're thinking, like when you start having that thought, like, oh, maybe I'm gonna retire in the next 5 years. Start then. Like, so that way you can make the best out of those 5 years. Some people purchase cars so then they can retire and they have a brand new car. They don't have to worry about purchasing a car anytime soon. Some people strategically take their sick leave and maximize it. Like, you can literally set yourself up to go out with a bang in the best way for you financially. But it takes you putting in the work. You got to talk. You got to, you can't be a secret agent. You have to let them know what's going on because they can't help you with a issue or with a situation that they don't know exists.
Absolutely. Everyone, in my opinion, should have a relationship with their HR. And I know y'all, like when I was HR, people used to
I
try
get
to
a bad
avoid me
rep.
like the plague. Yeah, people used to try
My
to
best
avoid me
friend is
like the
in HR.
plague. And I'm like, y'all, like I could help. Like, I'm not bad. And another misconception is that people keep, I just saw it on social media the other day, the HR is not for you. They for the company. Actually, we're for both. And if you have a good HR person, they are looking in the best interest of you and the company too. So I just wanted to throw that out there, speaking on behalf of the HR departments across the world. But
They do though, because my best friend is HR. They make jokes all the time. Like if they're in the elevator with her, like they'll make jokes like shh.
No, it's real. And like, even to the point, people didn't even want to look at me in the hallway. And you know me, I'm so friendly. I'm like, hey. And they like, oh Lord, why Tiffany nice to me? I'm about to be let go. Like,
Exactly right. She could be calling me in the office later.
yeah, but I promise we're not bad people. So I highly recommend people have a relationship with their HR. Find somebody. If you, not all HR people are created equally, I'll say that.
Facts. Facts.
So find someone that you mesh with in the HR department that can help you out. But also having a financial planner, having a tax person, having all of these people as like your team, your money team, is really helpful because that's another thing too. If you have a financial planner, they don't know everything. And so they even consult with tax professionals. They might consult with CPAs. You know what I'm saying? So everybody has their specialty, but if everybody has their specialty and they're working together for the same purpose, then you can get the best outcome, versus just relying on one person's information or, whatever the case may be. So highly recommend people have a money team for sure.
Okay. So what do you suggest they not do with HR? Like what do you think is a bad idea or something that you like, do not do this? You do this all the time. It's not, it's not a good idea.
How much time we got? No. because There are, I mean, there's quite a bit of things that
I'm
people
sure
do
that's
that
why
they
I
should
want to
know.
ask that question, because the whole point is for people to learn throughout this process. And the more that they learn, the more they can leverage HR to their benefit. Like, these are their benefits. So you should use them to your benefit. But if you don't
Mhm.
know about them, sometimes when we don't know about things, we feel more intimidated, and we just have that scarcity when it comes to like, oh, I don't want to ask, or they procrastinate and keep putting it off and putting it off until it never happened. Now we 5 years down the line, and you never call them about the problem with your 401k. And it's like, it's 5 years now, sis. Like,
So, okay. All right. First thing, check your pay stubs.
ooh,
Now, I used to run payroll. Hundreds of people every week. We used to do weekly payroll. And I'll be real with you, sometimes mistakes happen because we're human. Now I tell people always check your pay stubs. Make sure your elections are coming out right. Make sure your pay is right. Make sure you do a quick calculation. How many hours? Okay, how much was my pay? Like, you should do that with every single paycheck, and especially if it looks different. Because like I said, sometimes mistakes happen. So that's one of the main things I see people not do is check their pay stubs. Like, to the point where people would be like, how do I even get my pay stub? Huh? How long you been here? And you don't
because
know how to
everybody
pull your
thinks
pay
direct
stub?
deposit. Yeah, so I can see that though. I can see that because
Mm-hmm.
everything is direct deposit, and that means that they have to log on to the portal to get their pay stub. So a lot of people don't even look at it at all.
Mm-mm. And
Mhm.
so that's one of the first things. Another thing is not updating your W-4. So when you're first employed, you get the W-4, you fill that out, and that's your withholding, right, for your taxes. Usually once people get hired, they do all their new hire paperwork. That includes that. They don't revisit their W-4. Now, keep in mind, tax changes. Like, the tax law changes, your situation changes, all of these things change. And so I tell people you should at least evaluate your W-4 at least once a year. And you just go to the IRS website, because they also change the forms, they change how they calculate things. And so you always want to start at the IRS website. They have a tax withholding calculator. Go ahead and plug in your numbers there and see what it says you should be putting as your withholding, and then make sure that is what your employer has too, because if not, you can either owe or you'll get too much of a refund. So the goal when it comes tax time is to get to zero. And so if you're owing, then you probably need to increase your W-4. If you're getting too much, you probably need to decrease your W-4. So just update your W-4 is super important, and a lot of people don't do that.
Okay, okay. So these are some great tips. I truly appreciate you. I feel like it's it's practical and it sounds very simple, but a lot of people just don't know, and they don't do these things. And for some of them, they just don't know that it's possible, or even HR does that, because they have trainings when you start a job, but I don't think they never train you on what HR is supposed to do. So they might tell you like, oh, give you the handbook or this, but they never teach you those parts of it. Like, oh, when you're about to retire, call them to coordinate your retirement. Like, I've had a lot of jobs in my life, and I've never had anybody train me on how to use HR to my benefit.
Mm. And another thing too, is if you have a situation come up in your life, like let's say for instance, um,
Ooh, that's a
let's
good question.
say let's say you need FMLA or something, or let's say for instance you're going through an adoption. Your job might have an adoption benefit, but you need to
Or
ask your HR
daycare.
department or daycare or
Mhm.
college. A lot of companies do like college benefits where you can get some money for that, but also talk to HR about the rules and stipulations around all of that stuff too, because usually when it's an educational benefit, you have to make a certain grade, you have to pay up front, and then we reimburse you. Like, there's different things. So just whatever you're going through, whatever life situations come up, run it through your handbook, and if it doesn't make sense, run it through HR, but always go to your handbook first.
So, what are some conversations that we shouldn't have? Well, that's a good question right there. Come on,
So,
financially present. That's a good question. What shouldn't we tell y'all?
yeah, so you shouldn't tell us stuff that would jeopardize your job. Uh, because again, we are working on the best interest of you, but also the company. So, for instance, I've been in situations where somebody was like, oh, I'm a sue because of this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. Now, when you say those words, now I have to put on the company hat because you're not about to come for us. And so, like there's like, I tell people, always be strategic in whatever you say and whatever you do. So
Mhm.
even if it's a situation where, let's say, you feel discriminated against or whatever, be strategic about it. Like, don't always show your cards. Like, if you
Mm.
have damning, if and I'm saying this with my employee hat on, right? Um, don't always show your cards in every situation. Play it cool sometimes, gather your evidence, and then just be like, pot out. And then boom. That might not be something you let HR, because you have to realize, even though, let's say, you may be cool with your HR person, if it comes down to a situation like that, y'all might be going toe to toe together.
Exactly.
So part of my career was fighting workers' comp and unemployment claims.
Ooh.
I can go into a whole spiel about that, which you should and
I know
shouldn't
you
do.
can because I
But
used to work for the Postal Service and I've sat in on mediations for some of those um, irregular workers' comp um, situations.
yeah, and the thing is, some bad apples will spoil it for everybody. And
Every
so
everybody. But see,
yeah.
in that sense, that's exactly why I don't tell my boss where I'm going or what I'm doing when I take leave. One
Mhm.
day I'm gonna be on some BS. One day I'm gonna have an interview. You know what I'm saying? Or I'm gonna have something that I'm gonna have a speaking engagement. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Something that I'm gonna be taken off for. I'm not gonna start the practice of telling you, oh, I'm going to do this, 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 or I'm going to do that. Because eventually
Now,
you're gonna be like, oh, what was you doing? Oh, I see you took off because it's gonna be a natural conversation. Oh, you took off 3 days. You know, what was you
mhm.
up to? You're gonna be like, oh, I was, and it's gonna be obvious. So that's why I don't even start the practice. I never open the can.
Now, I'm glad you said that. Another thing I wanted to bring up was when it comes time for exit interviews. So usually when you
Ooh.
leave a company, they might say, "Oh, let's do an exit interview or whatever."
Mhm.
Be strategic with those too, because part of our job in HR is to figure out why you left, and if it's something that we need to address, then we try to address it. However, I always tell people, look, however, comma, I always tell people, don't go in there and just badmouth everything, badmouth everybody, whatever, because you may also need a referral at some point. And so I always say, if it is something where it would be a benefit for you to share, okay, share. But if it's something where even if they changed it, you would still leave, don't even bother. Like, like there's no point. So, as HR, we want to know that information, but as an employee, you don't have to give us that information. You can
So that's actually
also,
really funny
okay. I was gonna say you
because
can
I
also
just
decline an interview too. But go
oh,
ahead.
I didn't know that. I didn't know you could decline it, but I just transferred.
Mhm.
So I transferred and I didn't have an exit interview, but she had to do like my last performance appraisal before I left and went to the new boss. And so, because I left like literally right around the new fiscal year, and that's when they do the performance appraisals. So somebody was, I think my new boss was asking me about the old boss. And I was like, oh, I was just like, oh, because in my head, I'm like, I need to get that performance appraisal signed and put in my file when I get the notification from OPF that it has been uploaded into my file and is a permanent file. Okay, now I got plenty to say, but before that, I don't have nothing to say.
Well, I will also say be careful with that too. um, because office politics are very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and you never know who or what may come up again. So I always approach things with tact and make sure that whatever I say, it's I definitely approach things very tactful, because bad mouthing anybody. Let me give you an example. I was in, so this was before I even got into HR. I was in a first position receptionist. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And as a reception, oh, that's another thing, y'all. Y'all want the receptionist on your team too, because your
Oh yes.
receptionists know everything.
Yeah,
A receptionist know
everything,
everything
all the
going on.
business. I used to be a receptionist at my current agency. I started there as I knew everything. Any type
You
of thing
want
that was going on, it had to go through me.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So you want the receptionist on your team, make friends with the receptionist. But anyway, um, I was a receptionist, and one of the employees, she was in HR, and she was just so nasty and so mean, not just to me, but to everybody. Like, her favorite thing was, oh, I only do benefits. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't help with that. That's not my job. It was just always something like that. Now, fast forward, Tiffany is now in HR. Not only am I in HR, but I'm like a step below the manager. And so at a new company, okay, the manager comes to me and he's like, her resume comes across my desk and he's like, oh, y'all were at the same place at the same time. What do you know about this person? I said, no, sir. Um, and I told them exactly why. I said, because,
Mm-mm. No,
mm-mm,
no,
red
thank you.
flag.
0 stars. Do not
Do
recommend.
not recommend. I said she was always saying this was not her job. She didn't want to do extra. She was like, nobody liked her in the building, so on and so forth. Well, she didn't know that when I was just a lowly receptionist, that I would actually have a say in a future job for her. And so
Mhm.
that's why I'm like, make sure that, because you never know what may come back around. So I don't know. I kind of stay away from the office politics, and I guess that's part of HR too. You kind of have to stay out of office politics, but I just stay out of it. And like, for instance, with the new manager asking about the old manager, I'd be like, oh, it was good to work for, and this is what
So
happened, blah
no,
blah
he
blah.
didn't ask, but
Oh,
he indirectly asked because he needed to know what type of cases I had worked.
oh, okay. So it was more job related, not like
Yeah, he needed
personality
to know what
related.
kind of
Oh,
cases I
okay.
had worked. But
Oh, okay.
long story short, I had worked with her for like 6 years and she never gave me any type of complex cases. She only gave me cases at the bottom and never allowed me to get anything complex, therefore never really helping me
Mm,
excel or be looked at for upward mobility. She essentially was creating a ceiling over my head. So it was like it wasn't in a sense of
mm,
like
mm.
to talk about her, but he needed to know what type of cases I had worked so he could assign me new cases.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's safe. Um, what I was saying is more if it's about character or personality.
Oh yeah,
Um,
no. It was about
yeah,
it was about
yeah.
like just different things she did, but I still
Okay.
didn't feel comfortable saying it until I had my performance appraisal.
But you know what, Nia, that is really common too. I even experienced that when I was in HR department, y'all. I experienced that as well, where I had coworkers that were, I would say, like, jealous because I was like the youngest person on the team. I was the only Black person on the team
Mhm.
and the only one with an advanced degree. And
Mhm.
so, like, one of my coworkers, she was like slightly higher than me, but she would be like, "Oh, you have an MBA. You should be able to figure it out." I'm like, "You mad? Like, go get you one."
Let me go get you a cape. Let me get you a cape because you super mad. You
Right.
super mad. Let me go get you a cape.
But she tried her hardest to discredit or try to not, like, if I did anything good or anything right, that would never get, acknowledged.
Any
But if
attention?
it was,
Exactly.
mm-hmm,
Hmm.
but if it was
No
something
attention. It would never
where,
get. And that's how it was. Like if I did do something, she might spend 2 seconds, like, oh, that was good. But then want to list 5, 6 things and be like, well, you don't know that. oh, you should know this. Anything that I learned, I was expected to have it memorized for eternity. I can never forget any minute detail about anything. Like, and that's just kind of how it was, being
Mhm.
under her.
But the
Similar. But the only thing is, like, obviously she was my supervisor, so she did have advanced degrees like I did and things like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was something. I don't know what it is, but it was something.
But I will say in those situations too, let your work speak, because at the end of the day, even with her trying to make me smaller than what I was, because I was big. Like my building loved me. I was like their favorite HR person, but other people saw it. And so, for instance, with my position in HR, we interface with the directors, we interface with VPs, we interface with C-suite, pretty much everybody from the top to the bottom. And
Mhm.
so everybody, was like, oh, we love Tiffany. Oh, we love Tiffany. So then it became a situation like, well, what
You don't
issue do
like
you
Tiffany?
have? Right. Exactly.
What's wrong with you? Everybody loves Tiffany. Like,
Exactly. And that's the thing. Like, she would try to get under my skin. I'm like, I'm here to do my job, and I'm gonna do my job. And people can just look at you crazy instead of me.
mhm.
So anyway, I know we're going off on a tangent, but
Yeah, but I like that though, because these are just real conversations, and it's things that people are dealing with at work, as well as dealing with HR. Like, dealing with management and HR is also, like, a touchy subject. So I think that it's
oh,
important. Like, it's a good tangent to go off on, because I'm sure people experience that.
and I do want to mention, I'm glad you mentioned management and HR. I want to explain kind of the difference between the two, because people be like, oh, you gonna fire me. And I'm like, I don't have the capability to fire you, actually. If you get fired, it's not the HR department that's firing you, it's your manager that's firing you. We just help them
We
facilitate
just
the process.
executed the paperwork.
Right. We help them facilitate the process and execute the
Correct.
paperwork
We
because
might have we
we
might have
don't
been
want
the
to
one
get in
that deleted
trouble.
you out the portal.
Because we don't want to get in trouble. So
Right. We took
we
we
kind
took
of,
your W drive access.
right. But I just wanted to put that out there too, because people kind of get that confused as well. Like when I was in HR, people was like, oh, how you fire people? They was like, you so nice. And you just, because quick story. It was one day I came in, I knew that the manager wanted to fire somebody because they were falling asleep at the job. I mean, they should have known it was coming too. But that morning I ran into him. I was like, hey, how are you? Just being fine. Just because for me, I separate the person from the job. And so I'm not going to just shun you because I know your demise is coming. That's You're still a good person. And so I'm still going to say, hey, I'm still going to, interact with you or whatever. But later on that day, the manager was like, I don't know how you do it. Like, you be so nice to people and knowing
It's
they
still a
had about to
person.
get
Just
chopped
because they're
off.
about to get fired don't mean they're not still a person. They're still a person.
Exactly. So, yeah, so that's my thing. Just separating the person from the job. So, also, I'll say that to say, don't take it personal if you do have to get fired or something like that. It's nothing with you. It's just that something, with the job, it's something job related.
So we're gonna wrap it up here.
Yeah, because I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't even know where I was going with that no more. But
no, but I think that it's good points. But, it probably would be a whole nother session talking about, like, the management to
oh yeah.
HR vibe and all of that. Because it's so many layers to it, and a lot of people be intimidated because of their management and fear of retaliation. Because I mean, whistleblower
Well,
laws are not. They have ways. You know what I mean, to
mhm.
circumvent them. Where it's like, what? What did I do?
Now
I didn't
I
do nothing.
I will say, as HR, that's where I was going with this. Our job is to help the managers navigate situations in a way where we don't get sued. Okay. So, long story short, so a lot of times the manager, C suite, whatever, will come to HR and say, look, this is what I'm dealing with. How should I approach this? So, that's more of the HR capacity when you're looking at the company hat, is we're trying to help make sure that everybody's treated equally and fairly, and that, people just aren't doing stuff willy nilly. So, that's why we get involved. So, anyway, I just wanted to put that out there.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you for coming today. As you see, you can find her at Money Talk with T, and you can find her on various platforms. You can definitely go to her website. I'll make sure I have her information in the comments, or no, in the description box. Of course, if you're still watching, you need to be liking, following, subscribing, hitting the notification bell, everything. We're going to go ahead and close it out. Y'all have a great day. Happy Tuesday. Happy final day of April. Today is the last day of April. So tomorrow we bringing in the Mayflowers.
And I hope y'all got your budget. No, I was kidding.
Yes, because it's the beginning of the month. So if you don't have it, we're going to get off of here so you can go make it. Okay. Have a great one. Let me end this.